What is good, homies? This is Chris from the Small Hat Crew, joined today by Heart Pirates TCG, Joey.
What up, y'all? What up, y'all?
Bro, I'm leaving that in.
I was gonna say something else, but I like tongue twistered.
That's crazy.
I'm cooked, okay, bro. Washed pirates.
Washed. Okay, all right. So there is. If you're familiar with my channel, then you're familiar with Joey's channel also. We learned that at Nats. So.
No, that one guy didn't know.
That's true, he did. All right, but so that means like you've already seen, or you're at least aware of Joey. He gave a take in the past that people found very controversial. He said Sakazuki's not a problem. Believe it or not, actually, like, I don't know. If you're subscribed to my channel, and this isn't the first time watching, you already know I hold the same opinion. I've been very vocal about it in my like previous streams. And I've given, like, I don't know, a lot of arguments regarding it. And people usually sway the other way. And that's basically what we're doing with this video. We're trying to put this to rest once and for all. So, okay, alright. As far as a deck being the best deck in format, that alone doesn't justify, like, there's always going to be a best deck, right? Like, that's just...
I also don't even think Sakazuki's the best deck.
I don't either. That's the crazy part about it.
Yeah, so, I think Anel's the best deck.
I do too. So... Alright, so realistically, when we start talking about leaders needing to be hit and shit, and the reason that's it's come up so much recently is because after they announced that we're getting a ban list after Worlds, people keep being like, what cards do you think need to be hit? And I keep saying, I don't think anything needs to be hit realistically. Like, if I have to think like the cards I think are going to be hit versus cards I think need to be hit, I think we're in a very balanced meta, because we're in a meta where there are 3 different leaders that are topping or winning events just as often as each other. But then we even have like leaders like Katakuri just won yesterday's Treasure Cup. I'm doing an interview with Gio tomorrow. So yeah, I guess watch that too, you know. But yeah, okay. So when we start talking about why a leader needs to be hit, it has to be that they are so oppressive that they are dominating the entire scene. They're winning all the events. Their conversion rate's fucking insane. It's stuff like that, right? We have had 8 events so far. Of the 8 events,
North America, right?
Yes. Or not, okay, North America specifically, Western format. So like OPO5, not in Japan and like Asia and shit like that. So like this is including like Europe and like everywhere, pretty much for the most part.
And Latin America as well.
Right. We have had 8 total events. Of the 8 events, Sakazuki has not even won half of them. So he hasn't even won 50%. So the thing about Sakazuki is people complain about him because he's so highly represented. Sakazuki makes up 48.50% of all tops that have happened in the Western meta, which is like, you know, that's damn near half. That's concerning, right? But his conversion is ass. His conversion, when you compare
it's
it to
terrible.
Like, bro, it's so bad. Literally, so okay, because if we have 2, let's say we have 2 decks, right? Let's say there's a deck and there's one that has won 3 events, and then let's say there's 2 different decks and both have won 3 events, and one of them has had 800 players enter and the other one has had 300 players enter, but they both have the same amount of wins. Would you argue that the one with more entrants that topped just as much as the one that had a third, is that the deck that needs to get hit? Because when we look at the events that have happened recently, of the last 8 events, Sakazuki has won 3, Purple Luffy has won 3, and Enel has won 2. And I think it's only a matter of time before Enel takes his third also, because I think he is the best deck in format, realistically.
If we're also considering, like, if we're not counting Europe, I'm pretty sure Sakazuki hasn't won a single event in like
North America,
and no. I'm pretty sure he hasn't won a single one in Latin America either. So I'm not 100% sure on Latin America, but I know that our Nats now won, and then their Nats in Latin America, Purple Luffy won. So yeah, like, I mean,
that's the main reason I even like use like this example, because it's like people, literally the dumbest take I have seen, the most brain dead take I have seen, is people say the reason Saka doesn't top in North America is because we don't know how to pilot the leader. That's so
stupid, bro.
That is actually the dumbest fucking take I have ever heard. Holy shit, bro. It's actually so stupid. But when you go ahead, when you expand it beyond even just North America, there have been a total of 8 events. There have been 8 events, and Sakazuki, because if there's 5 other events Sakazuki hasn't won, what is the excuse? Because we've expanded the net beyond North America at that point, right? Why is it that Sakazuki has managed to not make it into the grand finals of like 5 different events? We have had we have had Play TCG Online Treasure Cup. Sakazuki's highest placing was 5th. He didn't even make top 4.
Yep.
We had Oceania Championship Finals Melbourne. Sakazuki made it to Grand Finals. He didn't win it. Let's go ahead and look at the second most recent. We have Latin America Championship Finals Santiago. He got 5th place. Again, he didn't even make it in the top 4. Before that, we have North America Championship Finals LA. He got 2nd. So we are in 4 back-to-back events where Sakazuki has not won anything. We have Europe Championship Finals. It looks like pronounced Utrecht. This is where Sakazuki finally gets his first win. His last win was January 20th. So, bro, we've had like 2 events already happen, 2 to 3 events happen in that time span. He's done. Actually, are these chronological order? They are. So literally, since he got his last win, there have been 4 events where he hasn't gotten the win, and there have been 2 where he didn't even make it in the top 4. Before that, we have December Treasure Cup Paris. So literally, that's his next first place. Before that, we have like just consistently, he is not the winning leader. The crazy thing about him too is because like people seem to think that like Sakazuki's his auto win button. Standard Sakazuki numbers, I know you tech 10, but on average, Sakazuki he plays 8 2K counters. He only plays 8 2Ks. And he's a 4 life leader, and he usually gives up the first life for free. So he's a very squishy leader. It's like, he has all these blockers.
I'm so fucking happy you said that. Can I say something real quick?
Go for it, bro.
Bro, Sakazuki is the most fragile, good deck I've ever seen in my entire life. It can literally die to everything. It can die to aggression. It can die to being like out-resourced. It can die to being like, your life being trashed. It can die by removal. Dude, it just dies to fucking everything, dude. Bro, and of course, it can also beat everything, but it can still also die to everything. So how is it unfair?
I just, because that's the thing about it. It's like he runs 8 2Ks. He's 4 life. He gives up first one for free. So you're realistically looking at a 3 life leader that has 8 2Ks. He has to like recycle them off of like blockers and stuff. Realistically, because that leader is so fragile, he requires that you play him perfectly. Because the thing about Sakazuki is he only is good in the hands of a good Sakazuki player. Because if you misplay on Sakazuki, that's when the fragility kicks in all of a sudden. That leader is so hard to recover from a misplay. Like there have been so many times where I'm just playing a game against somebody and they miscount non or something one time, and it's like, oh, I misplayed that, and then from there the game, like, it's just like, okay, well, I'm running away with it now. Like, you have to be a good Sakazuki pilot. And then even then, it's like, Sakazuki, nothing that he does is inherently oppressive. Because you look at the leader like this, right? The leader people used to argue we were in a rock, paper, scissors format. Realistically, we weren't. Because it was Purple Luffy was supposed to be it now, and now it's supposed to be Sakazuki. Sakazuki is supposed to be Purple Luffy. But Purple Luffy wasn't even really in that conversation because he wasn't topping or anything. That has changed recently. I played
5 Purple Luffys in the Treasure Cup yesterday.
Bro,
almost 5 in a row. Like, straight up, I played, like, from round 5 to round 9, I played 4 Purple Luffys. It doesn't really surprise me either, because he's, like, the most, I know, like, Queen's not even all that expensive, honestly. I mean, it's $35, I'll give you guys that. But, like, barrier to entry as far as card games go, it could be a lot worse than Queen. But, like, Queen, a playset of Queens is $35.70. It's $140, right? So as far as like the top end leaders go, the most highest performing, Purple Luffy's the cheapest one to get into. But so realistically, that used to be a matchup that Sakazuki used to auto win. People have switched over to the Nico Robin or the All Sunday build of Purple Luffy instead, and now they're having favored matchups into Sakazuki. Like, if the leader is so fucking good, they need to be banned. They're supposed to be oppressive, and they're supposed to be very minimal counterplay. Sakazuki basically, Purple Luffy has been able to adapt to overcome that matchup to make it not an auto loss for them. And like we just saw in one of the most recent events, Purple Luffy knocked Sakazuki out of top 8. Like, very consistently, we're seeing that Purple Luffy now is he's in this supposed to be this like rock paper scissors format, but he's playing in a format where Enel is a favored matchup into him, and Purple Luffy, it's no longer the auto win it used to be. So it's almost looking like, I don't know, like a V or whatever, where the 2 other top 3 decks are playing favorably into him. The fact is just I wouldn't say favorably, but because I beat 4 out of the 5 Purple Luffys, and the only one I didn't beat, I bricked super hard after a deck check. So I would still say that if you play Sakazuki really well, you can still beat Purple Luffy, and I think you're slightly favored. But it's no longer like a 30. It's no longer like a 35, like 65, right? It's probably closer to like 55, 45 now.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Cause I feel like it's one of those things where Sakazuki just has to play. He has to play. So that's the thing about like Sakazuki. He was never unfair because he was never broken. He never did anything crazy. He was just very efficient at what he did. His whole thing is like he has a game plan. He's gonna consistently get there. He's gonna do this thing that he needs to do every single time, and it's a matter of whether or not your deck is able to deal with that. But what he was doing was never crazy. Like he was sticking usually on average like 6k body to the board a turn and a blocker. Like he was outing bodies in the process. His whole thing was just like he was generating an advantage by taking cards from you, and it would, like you had to check that. But when
I coach people, I coach people on Sakazuki a lot. Yeah. And when I coach them, I'm like, bro, Sakazuki has removal, but he doesn't have infinite removal. If you waste your cards on the wrong thing, you're gonna lose. Like if you waste one Houndblaze on like the wrong card against a good player, that could literally just lose the game straight up. Bro. So it literally is like people act like Sakazuki just bottom decks literally everything on play or kills everything on play. You really have to save it for the right times or you just lose, bro. It's so people that think he has infinite removal are not good at the game or don't play Sakazuki.
That's what I was gonna say. I literally think you can tell those people have never touched Sakazuki a day in their life because that leader seems mad crazy, but once you're the one behind it, you do realize like that leader does have flaws and he is entirely reliant on his pilot. He is completely reliant on the pilot. Sakazuki, like Whitebeard is one of those leaders you could have stuck in anyone's hands and expect them to top with it. Sakazuki is not that. Sakazuki, you cannot do that with Sakazuki. You have to know what you're doing.
You met my brother Zach, right?
Yeah. Fucking Sables.
I love Zach so much. He's so cool, and he's one of the smartest. He probably is the smartest person I've ever met. And he says that Sakazuki is the best deck, and he says that because he doesn't play One Piece anymore. He only plays on the simulator. So I'm like, that is why you have that opinion. It's because you don't play One Piece at a high level like I do. It's literally right now my full-time job to play One Piece. Yeah. And I've played probably 1,000 games with Sakazuki now, like between practice and tournaments, whatever it is. And I'm telling you, this deck is the most, like I played Law almost as much as I played Sakazuki, and Law felt like, of course you can brick a little bit more with Law and you can like just not like find your cards when you search, but like Law was so easily bailed out by just having a million blockers and just generating 55 cards per turn that it felt like you can get freer and cheaper wins with Law than you ever could with Sakazuki.
No, that's literally the case. I can't wrap my head around the thought process of thinking a leader needs to be banned, yet a leader can consist. If he was as oppressive as he is, he should at least always be in the grand finals, right? Or you know what? Even if we're being more like lenient, he should at least always be in the top 4. The fact that there are multiple events where he does not make it into the top 4 is actually fucking baffling. Like,
what's so funny is Whitebeard, like I said this in my video, but Whitebeard was like overly oppressive and dominant from set 2 to like the end of set 4 until he got banned. And he was like, bro, if he wasn't in the finals, like I would be shocked. I would actually be like, wow, like White. And guess what? If it wasn't Whitebeard, it was Zoro or Law. It was like one of those 3 decks are always in the finals, like no matter what, right? And like now, it is very rare that just wasn't the case, right? One of those 3 decks was represented in the finals, like. And since Whitebeard was so dominant, like it like warped every single deck around that leader. Like if you couldn't beat Whitebeard, there was no point of playing any deck at a high level.
That was like, literally it.
If your deck couldn't beat Whitebeard, you were intentionally trolling going into any event. This format right here is like, bro, you could have a terrible Sakazuki matchup, and you're like, okay, I could realistically play Purple Luffy, Enel, Katakuri, Whitebeard, Zoro. Like, I could play a lot of decks. I might not actually run into Sakazuki, or if I run into Sakazuki, it might not be that many of them, because it's kind of a diverse format right now. I mean, look at Nats. The top 4 was Red, Purple Luffy, Zoro, Enel, and Sakazuki. 4 different decks in top 4 in our Nats alone. Right? So like you can literally play a deck that is like super troll into Sakazuki and still manage to like probably top like 64 at a tournament or top 32 at a tournament, because you either played very little Sakazukis, and the ones you did, if like I said, it's a fragile deck. I've beaten Sakazuki with freaking purple Kaido, bro. And like a really good player with Sakazuki, because he just didn't draw what he needed to draw. So like the people saying that it's like overly dominant are just smoking. They're smoking crack, dude. I'm telling you,
They're smoking cock.
Yeah, they're smoking crack and cock, bro. Check their teeth, bro. I guarantee they're bad.
Bro, it's literally like, because it makes no sense, because like I want to take it back like you were saying with Whitebeard. So Whitebeard literally gate kept out so many, like anything, if you were like below B tier, you couldn't play into Whitebeard. Sakazuki, like we're in a meta where that is the case, but it's not because of Sakazuki. We do have a leader that's gatekeeping out lower tier leaders. You know who that leader is? It's not Sakazuki, it's fucking Enel.
It's Enel. Is, dude, yes.
Bro,
it's fucking Enel gatekeeping, dude.
Yeah, Enel has literally made it so that many leaders can't even attempt to play the game. And now it's made it so that when I am on one life, when you connect with me, my leader ability will give me another life, and you have to connect again for game. He is always saying
they have 3 life.
Exactly. He says that before you can even attempt to go for game, first you have to meet the condition of even establishing 3 attacks on the board, and that's not even like factoring triggers and me being able to counter out of attacks. Like, there are so many leaders that can't even get to that point of the game just to get the 3 on the board.
If Sakazuki was the single best deck and Enel did not exist, let me tell you all of the decks that would be relevant right now. Zoro, Red Purple Luffy, Red Purple Law, you have what is it called? Whitebeard. You would have Katakuri. You would have right now Purple Luffy, because obviously Purple Luffy is like relatively,
right,
you know what I'm saying, like decent into it. So that's 6 decks off the top of my head that can compete with Sakazuki and either have an advantage or be favored into. 6 decks that, like, literally I thought about this for 5 seconds and I thought of 6 decks that can easily beat Sakazuki or go 50-50, like at worst, right? I don't know if you can think of any right now, but like because Enel exists, almost all of those, like Red Purple Luffy, Red Purple Law, like those decks, and Zoro, and even Whitebeard, those decks can't even consider playing into Enel, because they'll be like so like it's like an 80-20. It's so heavily favored in Enel's favor.
Yeah.
I play Red Purple Law a lot, and I'll play into Enel, and I'll be like, yeah, I have all this early advantage, and it doesn't mean fucking anything. Like, I'm just gonna lose.
Bro, people were talking
3 bodies on the board to kill you, bro.
It was so, like, I saw people talking about like Boat with Whitebeard and all that, and people were like, you think Boat should come back or whatever? And you know, I actually gave a very controversial take. I said I
think it could come back.
Yeah, I said I think Boat could come back. Exactly.
Yeah,
I said
because Bo is really, like, the Whitebeard pirate cards are super slow. They're all vanillas. So if you play into like any deck with removal, it like low key isn't as devastating as it was. I still don't think it should be at 4, but it could be at like 1. It could be
I think Boat could come back, because realistically, like, sure, Whitebeard's gonna fuck up. Well, because here's how I look at Boat, right? I feel like there are already like matchups that Whitebeard wins. He will continue to win those matchups, so nothing changes there. And then there's matchups that he will just auto lose. So,
but you also can't play Strawbeard anymore too. So like it kind of like forces you to play like shitty vanillas, and it's like,
it does.
You know, you're kind of like, damn, I'm playing shitty vanillas in like set 7. Like,
bro, yeah, because that's how I look at I look at Whitebeard. So this is a leader. All he does is play on curve. He plays on curve. Maybe he keeps one Don open for like a counter event or something, right? So if he plays in a Sakazuki, he sticks one body to the board. The body gets answered. What the fuck is Whitebeard doing? And then you play. And then here's the other thing, right? Let's say Sakazuki or Whitebeard plays like his perfect game. He's seeing his curve or whatever. He's got Marco, then he has Thatch, and then he, like, I don't know, has like 9 beard or something, right? Literally at any point, if any one of those bodies gets answered, he does not have enough tax on board to even attempt to kill Enel. Literally,
I'd actually rather play against Boatbeard than Strawbeard with Sakazuki, because I can just bottom deck all their shit, and like they're only playing 1 character per turn that doesn't attack, and then I'll just kill it. So
literally,
like, yeah, I think I'd rather, like, instead of them playing Zoro into Luffy into Ace into whatever, like that's way more scary in my opinion.
It is. It's literally because it's like people were talking about like Boat being crazy or whatever. I was talking about like into the Enel matchup. The Enel matchup is not won by going tall. It's won by going wide, and Boat doesn't do anything for that. Like, regardless of whether or not you have the Boat, what matters most is how many bodies are on the board. Do you realistically have 4 attacks to try to kill Enel?
Can you connect your attacks? Yeah.
Like literally, he puts himself so, and not to mention he's also like on this clock, because he has to get the attacks on board. Then he has to be able to push for game. He has to be able to try to get 4 attacks into Enel realistically. If we're gonna like talk about triggers, because there's always a trigger. Like, let's be real, there's always a fucking trigger. So he tries to push game into Enel. If he cannot do it that turn, that fucker is on 0. That game is over. Literally. And now will kill you on the crackback, because that's what a lot of Boat games came down to. A lot of Boat games came down to, I'm going to kill you this turn with my Boat push. And if I cannot end the game this turn, I'm on 0 and the game's probably over. And now it will guarantee, and Enel's the one leader that will guarantee there will be additional turns in the game. He's not going to let you sit on 0 for multiple different turns. So like, Whitebeard isn't even the problem he used to be, but his role has been filled by Enel. Enel is now the leader gatekeeping out everything that's like B tier and lower. Literally, the reason we're in the meta that we're even in is because Sakazuki is a leader that can... So Purple Luffy just goes wide by fucking default. He just drops a bunch of 5/6s on the board. That's Purple Luffy's game plan. He's doing page 1, ulti. Like, Purple Luffy already plays into going wide. Sakazuki is also just officially sticking bodies on the board. He has a blocker that brings a body out trash. He's a blocker that plays, like, picks up a 2k, plays a body out of hand. Like, Sakazuki's also kind of going wide to an extent. And then there's like Katakuri, but Enel's just a better yellow leader. Like, Enel is honestly the one that is defining. Like, people get so wrapped up in seeing which leader has the most people in top cut. But when you have 3 times as many players as everyone else, of course you're going to be the most represented leader in the top cut. That's just going to happen.
And then real quick, people are going to say, well, why do you think there's so many leaders in top cut? It's because people value consistency over everything in a major tournament. Yeah. So people are going to play, more people are going to play the most consistent deck, which is Sakazuki, right? Which is why most people played Whitebeard, because it was the most consistent deck, right? Because you didn't need any fucking combo pieces. You just needed to beat the shit out of the other person, right? So people are going to play the most consistent deck. But when there's a deck that is like half the representation that is like making the same amount of top cuts, there's something fucking wrong with it. Bro. Like, of course it doesn't have the high, like Sakazuki has a higher ceiling. Yeah. But the floor, bro, you can straight up win NL games by flipping over your leader and seeing what leader they have. Like, it's, bro, it's like straight up, if you like hop into if you sit across from somebody and you see that they're running Zoro or like Whitebeard, you have like a 90% chance of winning the game, no matter how good you are at the game. It's just like there's no other deck like that except for Whitebeard in its prime.
That's literally, it's like I can't wrap my head around saying that Sakazuki, because at the end of the day, like, what determines whether or not leaders need to be like hit on the ban list? It's like consistency and performance. If we're talking about, go for it. Yeah. Okay, so I said this when I actually, oh my god, this is so good. So I made a video in like set 3 saying Whitebeard needs to be banned. Yeah. And I got fucking eviscerated on Reddit. People were calling me retarded. Like, people were calling me retarded, saying I unfollowed him on YouTube, whatever it was. You know, don't recommend his channel, whatever it was. And when Whitebeard got banned, it was the most healthy format of all time, and I was vindicated. And everyone that commented saying I was stupid on Reddit, you're fucking stupid. But let me make my point real quick. It took Whitebeard like 3 formats of being super dominant for them to ban him for 1 month. Like, Sakazuki hasn't even been dominant for 1 fucking format. So why would anyone ban him? It just doesn't make any sense. Now, I will say, if he continues to be like a top 2 or 3 best deck for 3 formats in a row, of course he will be a problem. Right. But just him being good doesn't warrant, like, Katakuri has been good since set 3. It hasn't been great, but it's been consistently good for like every single set since it came out. Like, you know, it's won, guess what? It's probably won the same amount of tournaments as Sakazuki has, when Katakuri for the first 2 sets was countered by the best deck in the game, which was obviously Whitebeard, and also Wall too. So like Sakazuki, like, it just hasn't won anything for people to consider him broken. It just, like, the format's not even warped around Sakazuki. Like, there's a few things that have changed, but the format is more warped around Enel than it is, like, like against Yellow than it is Sakazuki. It literally is, because there are multiple meta leaders. I want to say, like, Sakazuki's impact on the card game has probably been like gatekeeping law out. But you will look at like the amount of decks that like Enel has kept out. It's not even close. It's not even like remotely close. If they want to ban, like, or not, I wouldn't say ban it, but if they want to limit like Gecko Moria or like Lucci or something like that, I'm all for it. If they want to keep like a more diverse meta, like, I'm all for like letting other decks like come back into the meta. But like, if they fucking limit like Gecko Moria or Lucci, and then like we just have fucking red green law like come back, I'm like, bro, like, you did this for a deck that's already had its time in the sun. Like, it's like they should not like limit cards just for like old red decks to just come back and be the best decks again. Like, that's like that should not, that cannot happen, actually, bro. And it's crazy because I bet some people want that. Oh, I bet they do. I bet a lot of people want that, actually. Now I think I put money on it. But it's because it's like, what was the point I was bringing up? It was like what justifies whether or not a leader needs to be hit or whatever, right? And that's supposed to be consistent performance, consistent tops. Like that, numbers are the thing that don't lie at the end of the day. Like what actually won out that day. And if we're hitting Sakazuki because he's won 3 events, then why is Purple Luffy not in that conversation? Would anyone ever even argue Purple Luffy needs a hit? Because I sure as fuck wouldn't. So if Sakazuki is performing just as well as Purple, actually worse than Purple Luffy, because they have the same amount, they have the same wins, yet Purple Luffy has a third of the player base, so he's converting 3 times as well as Sakazuki. Why is it that we're saying Sakazuki needs a hit when Purple Luffy's outperforming him? Like, that doesn't make any sense. That makes literally no sense.
I wouldn't say Purple Luffy's outperforming him, but I do think Purple Luffy has like come. It is shocking how much it stormed back into the meta. Like I told you, I got top 32 at the PPG Treasure Cup with Sakazuki, and I played legit 5 Purple Luffys and 4 Sakazukis. I didn't play a single yellow deck. I played straight up 5 Purple Luffys, 4 Sakazukis. It was like I've never seen that many people represent Purple Luffy in a tournament before. Like that's crazy to me.
Yes, I'm not even saying like I think Purple Luffy's like the better leader or anything. I think that's like when Sakazuki was revealed, I immediately said this is gonna be the best leader. And it turns out it's fucking Enel actually. But like I think as far as like numbers go, like if they can reach the same amount of wins, but Luffy's doing it with a fraction of the player base, then
I want to shout out Trevor too, real quick. Is Trevor? I was listening to a video that you guys posted like before the set came out, and Trevor was like, Sakazuki is low-key the best deck, but Enel has the same like win percentage.
Yeah.
So like he was like, I would watch out for Enel because it could actually be the best deck, and Trevor was 100% right. So like that's actually,
you know what's crazy about that?
That stayed on my mind for literally like I haven't been able to forget that for the last 3 months, and
I haven't forgotten.
He was the first one to say it.
I didn't forget it either, but the reason that shit's been fresh in my mind recently is because we went to the Nats together, we were like sharing a B&B and stuff, right? And I was like talking to him, and he was talking about like he's like, yeah, bro, I think I kind of fucked up. I was like, what happened? He's like, I've been grinding all these matchups, preparing for like the meta and everything. I was like, okay, that's cool. What's the problem then? He's like, well, I haven't been preparing for the Enel matchup. I was like, why? He's like, well, I didn't think Enel was honestly like all that crazy of a deck, if I'm being completely honest. I thought like because I was like, bro, you were the one that said that he was potentially better than Sakazuki, and he should have at least gotten the S tier. And I overruled that and threw him in A tier. Like, you were the reason that in my most recent tier list, I put Enel in the S tier, because I felt like you were right. Like, you were the one that said this, so what happened? He's like, yeah, I don't know what happened, bro. I just didn't prepare for that matchup. I didn't think it was real.
What's funny is I posted a deck, a tier list before the set came out. And it was like almost fucking spot on, dude. I was like one leader away from like making it like legit like the most perfect tier list like a month before the set came out. I had Cat, Enel, and Sakazuki as the 3 best decks, and I had Purple Luffy being just under it, which for a while it was until obviously like maybe like last week. When Chris Sock got the win with the Treasure Cup. And then the only thing is I had Whitebeard in B tier, but it should be in like high A tier along with like Zoro, which is what I put Zoro and Law in high A tier. But I didn't put Whitebeard in there. So I almost had legit the most like perfect fucking like tier list, because I did see it coming, bro. Like trigger decks are fucking scary, dude. You can't play, there's no possible way to play around triggers because you don't know what's in your opponent's life, and there's so many triggers that you don't know what to play around.
Yeah, you can't like, counterplay.
Yeah, like you can counterplay a little bit, like playing around triggers and whatnot, like playing around like not losing to triggers. Right. But like you just like you can't like
you can't counterplay.
It's hard to explain.
Well, yeah. no, because the reason I say like you can't counterplay, because I feel like it's mostly just a numbers game, because you just have to account for which trigger fucks you the most in that situation.
Yes,
and that is the one you play around.
Exactly. That's exactly it. Like you account for like a beige or like a Paraspare or something, but if they trigger like a Sanji or a Cracker or a Satori or a fucking Thunderbolt or an Amaru, like there's just so many triggers to play around. You have to play around the one that fucks you up the least, and that's like such a stupid way of like thinking, bro. Bro,
it truly does show, just like on a fundamental level, just like on as far as game design goes, because I recently held I held a tournament where it's nothing but bottom tier leaders, right? And at that point, if all the leaders have bad leader abilities, at that point, it's just a color pool. And literally, like, the 4 best decks, it was fucking, like, black, yellow, Big Mom, yellow, purple, Croc. It was won by a yellow Yamato. Well, there was yellow art, like,
I saw that, bro. That's crazy.
Bro, literally, like, it came down to yellow. It came down to yellow because my grand finals was fucking decided between, so first it was a yellow mirror. It was yellow Yamato versus black yellow Big Mom. And yellow Yamato had 5 life and triggered 4 fucking triggers. Like,
wow, that's crazy.
Because as far as card value goes, the reason yellow is unbalanced is one, first of all, One Piece is the best of one. You can't design a color based on variance in a game where you decide the game with one fucking game. Because if you get unlucky in that one game, then that's literally it. You know, you pack it up and they continue and you walk away and hope they're a good tiebreaker, and that's pretty much it. Because if it's like a best 2 out of 3 or whatever, you know, it's like you could get unlucky in one game, lucky in another. Eventually it's supposed to balance itself out. But in One Piece being best of one unlucky game is enough to fucking end the run. So I think yellow was inherently flawed just off of that alone. But also it's just like, because the best part about One Piece is the Dawn system. Yellow says
it's
fuck
like
the Dawn
crystals from
system.
Hearthstone.
Yeah, exactly. The fucking mana crystals. Yellow doesn't care about the Dawn system. Yellow disregards it entirely, and they start cheating shit out either for free or for cards from their hand, or for like they just do it. Yellow, when you start factoring in triggers, Cracker is just a free fucking 4 body. It's a 4 cost body that comes out of life for a card out of your hand. It basically has rush. That's another thing too. All the yellow bodies come out and they basically have rush.
Yeah.
They basically have rush. They like yellow. If you told me I could discard a card to play a Cracker from my hand, I'd do it every time. I would much rather lose a card from my hand than tap 4 fucking Dawn. Yellow doesn't play. Yellow like is playing its own game, but isn't really playing One Piece. Is the problem?
Let me also give you this example too. Is like, so with Enel, for example, and even Katakuri, just like you can just win games from just like having big bodies, right? Like they play like Rushanelle and then obviously Katakuri, 7 cost Big Mom. You can just like win games from like, you know, out resourcing your opponent, or maybe even being very aggressive into your opponent. Like, not only can you win games, like a generic color pool, like purple for a while, all they had was just generic fucking cards that they had to win with, right? Yeah. So like take a color pool that has like some of the best generic cards in the game, like 7 cost Big Mom, Katakuri, like Rushanelle, you know, all of these cards, right? And then also put into effect that they can either attack for 7k with 1 Dawn, or they can just like have infinite fucking life. Like that. And then not only that, but they can also trigger a bunch of shit from life to like further advance like their advantage. It just feels like they have so many tools to just kill you. They're the most flexible. Like they in set 3 they had almost no way of like getting rid of blockers or whatever. Now they have almost every single way of getting rid of everything. They have Thunderbolt, Amaru. Bro, next set they have the fucking Impact, which I don't know if you know what this card does, but it pisses me the
why do you choose?
That card pisses me the fuck off, bro.
Why the fuck do you choose?
If there's any game that makes me want to quit, or any card that makes me want to quit One Piece, is actually fucking Impact. Because now they have a third card that you have to play around. Like, I'm already playing around Amaru and Thunderbolt, and now I have to play around a fucking Impact. Like, that's so ridiculous. Like, if I attack into their life, I already know I'm going to lose. Like, it's so counterproductive. The only way to beat Katakuri is to attack into their life, and if they trigger a Paraspare on turn 1, you feel like you automatically lost the game because of luck. It's so fucking annoying, dude. I can't stand yellow.
It just literally, it makes no sense too. And like all the yellow high-end bodies, like they're healing. So like off rip, like it's more convoluted way of looking at it, but like every time they do heal, they're going +1, but they're also like saying draw a card, but they draw a card in the best fucking way possible because they pad an entire attack, and they also, there's a 50-50 shot. It's either a draw or a trigger, and then there are triggers that could potentially lead to like more triggers. And that's why Enel is so degenerate, because his leader ability pretty much is every time you attempt to push for game and you fail, one, you have to get through the life that's already there, and if it's not a trigger, you're not done, because I'm going to put a new life on top, and then that's also potentially a trigger. And then I have triggers that can give me more life on top of it.
You better hope that shit's not Namaru, because I'm going back to 2 life now.
Like, I can't wrap my head around, like, because like, if you want to play like devil's advocate, what are the arguments in favor of hitting Sakazuki? Aside from like, and I don't even think diverse meta is even a fair argument to make, because the meta is, we are in a meta where we have 3 different leaders that can all perform equally well. They're all winning just as much as each other. And then there's even Katakuri. Like, a diverse meta isn't the argument. You can't argue it's because he has the most tops, bro. That's the thing too, because like Sakazuki can he can also lose to just like random bullshit, like just like a random like rogue leader just doing some unconventional shit, like Ace for example on a 5-drop Luffy. Like that shit is actually real. You're a 4-life leader. If you ever at any point let yourself get down to like 1, Ace actually becomes like an actual problem that you have to like respect and stuff like that. Like that is something you could. Ace will never be able to do that into an L. It just doesn't matter. It's like topping a 5-drop Luffy and going unblockable and swinging for fucking 16k. It doesn't matter, or I guess 11. It doesn't matter because one attack is never going to be enough to close out the game against an L. There are random situations you can find yourself in on a lower tier leader into Sakazuki and still win, and that's why an L gate keeps out lower tier leaders. Because you can't do that. You literally there's no one card you can top deck against an L that will win the game for you.
What deck does Sakazuki gatekeep right now? It's literally just Law.
It's just Law.
It's literally like
just
Red
Law.
Green Law, bro. Like Sakazuki doesn't gatekeep any fucking deck in the game right now except for like Law, and we had Nikki Goldman get top 64 with fucking Law. Like what deck does Sakazuki like warp the meta around? Like we said, how Whitebeard warped the meta around it, and and it gatekeep pretty much every deck. Like there's almost no deck that Sakazuki is like keeps out of the game. Like you can literally play like almost anything. Like I could play like Rosinante and probably go like at least like at worst 60 or 40-60 into Sakazuki. Like it just, there's so many ways to beat Sakazuki, bro. It just it makes me laugh. People actually think that Sakazuki is a problem and like Anel isn't a problem, or like Katakuri isn't a problem.
I feel like people just don't. I feel like people look at numbers, they just see big number, and they're like, well, that means it's a problem. Because like literally the only thing Sakazuki like had, like when you look at the tops, because we've already like, the tops isn't where Sakazuki's winning out. The wins isn't where Sakazuki's winning out. The conversion's not where he's winning out. The one thing where he's winning is player representation. But that's not a good thing. Having more player representation and worse conversion is not good. That's actually bad. It means that there are multiple people trying to go in and be carried by a leader, and they're not doing it. Literally, if you have, like, if there's one Katakuri and he goes in the top 32, and then you have like 100 Sakazukis and like I don't know, 10 make it in the top 32, the Katakuri has converted better. There's literally other leaders with a fraction of the representation of Sakazuki. Like, what is it about Sakazuki that people find bro? Like, what is it that he's doing that justifies a ban?
Do you play League of Legends, Chris?
Bro, I don't know.
Okay. Well, I'll explain to this for anyone that plays League of Legends in the video that's watching.
Offer Miller might explain.
In the chat. Okay. There's a champion called Yasuo in League of Legends who has a super fucking high skill ceiling and a super low skill like floor. And very rarely has he ever been a part of like any real like composition in terms of like the best players in the world playing him in like at the highest levels, right? But in solo queue, so many people play Yasuo because they want to be fucking flashy and they want to feel cool, this and that, but they're not that good with him. I think it's the same shit with Sakazuki.
It is.
It's like everyone wants to be flashy and big brain and like feel like they're like the smartest guy in the room for playing like the hardest deck to play right now in the meta, which is Sakazuki. And they're just not that fucking good with him. Like, I've seen so many people just like suck with Sakazuki, but they want to play him because they're like, oh, best
he's the best deck.
His best deck, highest skill ceiling. But it's just like, you have to be good with him. So it's the same concept. We have so many people in the tournaments playing the deck that they think is the best because it has the highest ceiling. Very similar to like Yasuo or like even like Super Smash Brothers. If there's like I don't follow Super Smash Brothers, but if there's like a champion like fucking Ness, right? I actually know this because one of my friends is very good at Super Smash. But
he's clean.
Ness, yeah, he's clean. Shout out to Cameron and Jacob. Actually, they're both pretty good. But he plays Ness, and like Ness is like one of the hardest people to play. They say, right? Because he's just like so like big brain. But like the people that are topping with Ness at like big tournaments, it's like 1% of the meta. But probably a lot of people play him because he's so fucking flashy. You know what I'm saying? It's the same concept with Sakazuki. It's everyone wants to play him because they think he's flashy and they think he's like, you know, he's like hard to play. And then they'll just suck with him and they'll be like, damn, like, you know, what's happening? I'm playing the best deck. When they realize it's actually not the best deck. If you want free wins, go play yellow, bro.
You know what's crazy about that too is because like I feel like those same people, so those people will hop on Sakazuki and they won't like win with him, and you would think like the logical conclusion to arrive at is like, wait a minute, this leader, there's actual depth here, and he's not going to carry me across the finish line. Like, it's actually dependent on me as a player, and they'll still walk away from that leader and say that the deck's broken. Like, this shit just literally, it literally makes absolutely no sense. There's also a really good example in because the one game I did follow very competitive with Street Fighter, there's this character called Gen. There's one guy that one-tricked that character, and they were tier lists. Their tier lists were based on like data though, so it was actual like rankings and everything and points assigned by and just stuff like that. And that character was always in the top 2 highest tiers. And it was based off of that one player. There's only one player that was performing with that character and putting him on the tier list. No one else was able to replicate the results that character was, and everybody was like, I don't get it. Like, the character must be broken, but no one else could replicate his results. So it's like,
it's the same example that you just get. Yeah, that's exactly what I was telling you about. But with Street Fighter, right? Is with Yasuo, is like people can be really fucking good with him. But if like only like a couple people are putting up results for him like consistently, it's not the deck, it's the player.
It literally is the player. Like, I feel like a lot of the reason people complain is because maybe like one player in their local scene, because that's the thing too. I feel like the people that are complaining are they're people, they're not the best at the game, and
absolutely.
They're trying to play like a bullshit leader that just auto loses to like Sakazuki, right? They're just like on a, first of all, their depth and their knowledge of the game, it's pretty shallow. So that's the first thing working against them. But then they're also going in, and also those are the people too where it's like, either if your not like understanding of One Piece is pretty shallow, you don't know how to deck build. So you're either in a situation.
Those are the people that are playing like Sakazuki starter deck leader, and they're like, God, Sakazuki's so broken, like there's so much removal. Like, those are the people playing Smoker at locals. Like,
that's literally it. It's like those people. It's one, because you're not that great at the game, you've done one of two things. You have either built a list that is bad because you don't know what it is you're supposed to be building for, or why like the numbers of cards go in and stuff like that, or you find yourself in another situation where you've net decked a list that you don't understand why it was built the way that it was. Like, some people like net deck a list that topped an event or whatever because, you know, like it did good at the big event, so it's gonna do good in my local. But then your local's full of people playing fucking like Z, for example, so you just lose. It's like you're not playing into the matchups that the list is built to like play into. So like, it's people that aren't the best at the game, and then they've like, one guy is like on Sakazuki, right? There's one guy who's at least decent, right? And you're losing to him, and you're mad that you're losing to him, and you want his leader to get hit. And it's like, instead of getting better at the game, you just literally, like, the reason like Whitebeard eventually did get banned, because Whitebeard, I was saying for the longest time that he should have been banned forever ago. When they finally did hit him, I felt like it was too late, because like, what's the point in hitting a leader 1 month from a meta where he's no longer going to be relevant? He'll be like the 6th best leader at most, right? But literally, it didn't make any sense to hit Whitebeard when they did. And those are the people that finally happened because people were just complaining so much. They were complaining so much that they were finally like, all right, let's finally do this.
I mean, I was one of those people though, because the deck has been fucking like,
bro,
imagine quitting. I quit in set 2 because Whitebeard was so overly dominant, and I came back in set 3 and Whitebeard was still overly dominant, and I was like, all right, you know, like, coming from Yu-Gi-Oh, this is usually expected. A deck is like pretty good for a couple formats and it gets hit. And then in set 4 it was still like the best deck, and I was like, bro, this is just fucking ridiculous.
I agree.
Like, this has to go.
Because I remember like every single time, so I think since like OPO3, after he dominated OPO2, I think come OPO3 we got our like ban list or whatever, right? Every single time they hit cards to nerf Whitebeard, I was saying you should just hit the leader. Hitting cards, all you're doing is you're hitting the other red leaders. Like, you're killing Ace for no reason. You're trying to kill Whitebeard. This fucker's just gonna pivot, like, and he did every single time. He literally every single time he stayed on top, he was always the best deck.
Even like Law pivoted. I think that Law deck was bad, like the one with like the fucking
Wano?
Like the Whitebeard Pirates ones with Izo. I think it was bad. But
yeah,
like, even Law like pivoted, you know what I'm saying? Like, people still found success with it.
Yeah.
Like sometimes the problem is just the leader is so good, and Sakazuki his color pool is good, and his leader is good, but because he's a 4-life leader and because his deck list is so tight, there's so many ways to deck build around beating Sakazuki. That it makes it so easy to like balance that deck. But like something like a Nell and Katakuri, it makes it so hard to beat them because they play so many triggers that you can't account for. So when you deck build, you can't like, you're like, oh, I'm going to play 5 cost Yamato. And then like you like hard play 5 cost Yamato on turn 3, and then they just fucking thunderbolt it, and you're like, well, I automatically lose the game now because now I have no way of dealing with his triggers. Like you can't deck build around like beating yellow. We don't have the cards to do it. But you sure as fucking deck build around beating Sakazuki, and people have done it. People have done it this entire format, which is why it's not that good in North America, because North America actually understands how to play against Sakazuki.
Literally, like the fact that. Because that's where I was kind of going with that, because it was like people were complaining about, and remember I was also one of the people that said Whitebeard should have been banned. I think starting with OPO3, like the only reason I wasn't a fan of the Whitebeard ban when it finally happened was like, if you were gonna wait 3 fucking sets to do it, why do it now? Why do it like there's 3 months in this fucking set. Why did we wait till the final month they finally hit Whitebeard?
Yeah, they should have just done it on set 4, like just entirely.
Exactly. That's my only problem with the ban. They took so long to do it that it didn't matter because he's only gonna be on the list for fucking 30 days. That was the problem with it. But it was like,
so stupid.
Bro, it was fucking retarded actually. But like we were in this period where like, or I guess currently, where it was people like he finally got hit because people were complaining when we were at a point where it didn't matter anymore because he was going to get power crept, and that's literally where we are with like Sakazuki. It's like people could keep you, like you can alternate your list or whatever, you can adapt. That's what the purple Luffy players are doing, right? That matchup used to be an auto loss. That matchup was like a free one. Like they would go into it and they knew they were coming out of that with an L. That's no longer the case. Like they can actually play that game now. Like the purple Luffy players have adapted. It's been proven that Sakazuki, it's just like a puzzle and you have to solve it. And you have to like adapt in tech to try to make the matchup as winnable as possible. But like the people that are like complaining and stuff like that, it's people on bad leaders. That aren't that great at the game, and they don't even attempt to try to tech into fucking the Sakazuki matchup. Like they don't try to do anything to make the matchup better. They just want the leader gone so they don't have to deal with it, and that's the problem.
Yeah.
And that's another thing too, because it's like there are so many fucking leaders in this game. Why is it that you have to stay on Arlong? Like if you're mad you're losing
Oh my god, dude, that's a video for another day, bro, because that drives me fucking up a wall, bro. How people like play like the same like Kuro deck and be like, I wish Kuro was good. Bro, just play another deck, dude. Like, come on, bro. Like,
I get
like,
wanting.
I don't get like I don't blame people like because we're Blurple Croc like enthusiasts, right? Both,
exactly. I was gonna say that.
but I'm not like coping with Blurple Croc and like just like playing it over every single deck and just like complaining about other decks. Like I'm playing other decks and I'm like once per set trying to find a way to make it work. And if it doesn't, I'm like, well, maybe there's next set. But there are people that play at locals that play the same deck that like doesn't win, like Arlong or like Kuro, and then they'll complain about the meta. Like, bro, it constantly changes. You have to just play a different deck. Bro, that's not it, bro.
That's literally where I am with it, because like I've already like decided for OPO6. As much as I love Blurple Crocodile, I'm putting him down because like I understand people wanting to stay on their leader and trying to make it work. But I feel like there's 2 different mindsets that you can do that. One, if you're just like bad at the game and you're stubborn or whatever, and that's why you're sticking to your leader, that's obviously a problem in itself for many obviously different reasons that we don't really need to get into. But literally, if you are, because the reason I stayed on Blurple Crocodile was because like I understood that there were going to be bad matchups. And you know your leader. If you choose to play rogue, you have to accept that there are matchups that you're not going to win, and all you can try to do is make them as winnable as possible.
Yes.
People want to get on bad leaders and then be mad they lose to meta. Like your leader, like before you taking like if you're on fucking Arlong, you can't be mad you're losing to Sakazuki. Like you're losing to like leaders an entire tier below Sakazuki, maybe even another tier below that. Like before we even get to Sakazuki and Enel, you're already losing to fucking like Whitebeard, for example. You're losing to fucking Red Purple Law. Like
I don't complain. Like if someone wants to play a deck just to have fun, bro, by all means. But the second you start complaining about a meta deck when you're playing a troll deck, just stop fucking talking, because like there's no like you're not even trying to play the meta game. So like you complaining about a deck that obviously isn't very good, like there's no point of even talking about it, because not every deck can be good. Like I can't just go ahead and play Odin right now, because like what the fuck am I gonna do? I'm not gonna win any game. But if I want to play Odin for fun, I'm just not going to expect to win.
Exactly. That is literally literally. If I want to fuck around and have fun, I'm gonna play I'm gonna play Croc. If I want to win my games, I'm gonna play Sakazuki. Like there's just literally like there's different sacrifices that you have to make depending on what you want to do. It's like if you want to actually perform and all that, you can't be on a fucking C tier at most leader and then be mad. That was the trade-off for you having fun playing the game. But if you're also one of those people who gets mad, if you're not having fun losing to the meta decks, then why are you even on that leader at that point? Because you're not having fun with it. It makes literally no sense. It's like why in OPO 6 I'm playing Gecko. I'm literally putting Croc away until I get my invite, because as much as I love that leader and as fun as like I can win on leader or lose on leader, I'll enjoy it just because I enjoy playing that leader.
Yeah.
But right now the priority is actually getting the invite. So you have to make the logical conclusion here, put fucking Blurple Crocodile away and switch to a leader that actually is meta. Like,
yeah. I actually fucked up because I played Blurple Croc all throughout set 1. And I switched to Green Kid like a month before before set 1 ended, and I realized I was really good. I realized I was good at the game. I was like, holy shit, I'm like winning games now. Like it actually blew my mind. I switched to Kid, and when you and I first met at that case tournament in Cocoa Beach, that was literally my second day playing Kid, straight up. And I got third place out of like what was like 90 something people. In that
there's
tournament.
a lot of people there.
Bro, I got third. I beat multiple people that got their invites already in the game in that tournament, and I was like, holy shit, is this what it feels like to be like playing a meta deck? It's like when Rock Lee took the weights off. Like it's actually crazy, bro.
I say that shit all the time whenever like I'm talking to like I'll be talking to like Manny or Nick or whatever. I'll be like, come OPO 6, I'm playing Gecko. I'm taking the fucking training weights off.
Yeah, bro, it's crazy, bro. Yeah, so like I'm all for playing fun decks, and I actually have multiple videos of me like trying to play like off meta decks like Sabo or Kaido and bring them to locals and try to win with it. And whenever I don't win, I'm not like, bro, this game is so fucking stupid. Like I couldn't win with, like I'm like, damn, I went 3-1 with Sabo at a pretty sweaty locals. Like this is pretty cool. Like, I'm like, but I'm not complaining about like me not doing well. So yeah, if you guys want to win, Sakazuki is not causing you to lose. It's actually a no. It's actually a no.
Bro, I think before we even get to a no, it might just be your leader. Like,
well, it's probably.
It might just be your fucking leader. Like,
yeah.
I'm putting the Croc away because there's just compromises you have to make, and if winning is your main priority, you can't be on low tier leaders. Everybody wants to have fun on their leader, but like the reality of the situation is if you're saying what matters to you most is winning, if you're mad that you're losing, then why are you playing that leader? Because if your main priority, if you're sitting there trying to play fucking Kuro and you're mad you're losing, your priority is not winning, you wouldn't be on Kuro if that was the case. It just doesn't make any sense. Like you have to be able to accept like the other compromises you have to make when you're on some rogue bullshit. Like my Blurple Crocodilist was so fucking teched out for meta matchups. There are people will be playing an ass leader and they'll lose at the same local every single fucking week, and they're going with the same 50 cards. Like
yeah, I respect the people that like just want to have fun, because that's something I just like. I have fun not only I have fun with Sakazuki, which is why I play him, but like I have fun like just like competing at a high level. That's fun to me, which is why I play like mostly meta now, but like I'll try to make some non-meta meta decks work. But like I acknowledge that like if you want to win, you should play some of the best decks. In fact, a quick story real quick is I got my top 8 with Crocodile, and obviously Crocodile wasn't meta at the time, right? With it was set 4.
Yeah.
So it was Zoro, Law, and
I'd say Croc was meta set 4. I think he was placed alt right there.
It wasn't S tier. Like there were 3 S tier decks.
Definitely not. Definitely not.
It was like top of A tier, along with like Katakuri, basically is what it was. It was like probably Katakuri and then Crocodile. So it wasn't not meta, but it wasn't meta, I would say. And this was my first tournament aside. I played Zoro for one regionals and I got bubbled out of top 64. But other than that one time, I never played a meta deck at a major tournament. And this is the first time I played a Sakazuki deck at a major like a deck that's actually considered one of the top 3 best decks. Yeah. And I got top 32 and I was one away from if I won, I lost at table 8. If I would have won, I might have gotten my cereal shanks straight up.
Yeah.
Because
I watched that.
The guy that I lost to got 9th. I could have gotten 8th. Who knows?
Yeah, bro. Me and Nick were at like a fucking restaurant eating. It was funny too, because like you said, I want sushi right now, and then I said in chat like I'm eating sushi right now. Me and Nick were at a fucking restaurant eating sushi with my phone leaned up against the wall watching your games.
Yo.
Like that's why I was in your chat at that time, because I was just at a restaurant eating sushi. Like,
man,
I just
does sound good right now.
Bro, it's literally that though. It's literally, I think people just don't know what it is that they are complaining about. They don't know why they don't like Sakazuki. They just don't like that he's winning, and he's not winning any more than anyone else is the crazy part. He's winning just as much as everyone else. Like,
I have some friends that call him cringe, and I'm like, how is it cringe? Like, I just don't get like how Sakazuki's cringe. Like, it just like, do you just not like One Piece if you think he's cringe? Like, we've had aggro decks dominate the formats for 4 sets in a row pretty much, because I would call Kid like a mid-range aggro deck.
He is.
So like, we've had aggro decks dominate the format for 4 sets in a row, and this is the first time blue and black has been like relevant, or like blue/black has been relevant ever. And like, why? Like, we deserve, the blue-black enthusiasts deserve to like have our time to fucking have fun.
It's the
you know what I'm
first
saying?
time. It is the first time Control has been able to like compete at a high level. And I think that's literally it. I think a lot of people too, because I do know like so for a lot of people in One Piece, because the IP is just as big as it is, this is a lot of people's first TCG. So I feel like if it is your first TCG and up to this point you just experienced 4 sets of fucking red, then I guess maybe like this is just not what you expect a TCG to be. But there's different archetypes, and Control is definitely one of them. And then there's also, if you're coming from Yu-Gi-Oh, for example, like I could see, because I feel like no one who's coming from Magic is bitching about this, like, because they accept like blues of color and shit.
I will say mostly Yu-Gi-Oh people are pretty smart about it too. I think it's people that have never played a TCG that are complaining about like control decks right now. Because like, I think control decks, like for me personally, like every time I played Yu-Gi-Oh, I always tried to play a control deck or like a super crazy like combo deck. But it was either one extreme or the other. Like, wasn't like, you know, I never played like anything other than those 2 decks. So like now that like my style of play is finally like relevant in my favorite card game ever, I'm fucking Jubilee, bro. I love Sakazuki, so I love playing Sakazuki into this meta right now, and I'm pumped for it. But it's a lot of the newer players that are not very excited for it, because they're like, well, I can't play the game because my cards keep getting removed. But like, they don't realize that like we're saving our removal for the cards that we need to get off the board. Like there's ways to beat Sakazuki, you just don't know how to do it.
I agree, because Control is also my favorite playstyle. It was the reason I ended up on fucking Purple Crocodile in OPO1. It's funny too, because like for most sets he was my fuck around fun deck. But the reason I ended up on him in OPO1, because like he played like hand control and shit. Like he dealt with the board, he controlled opponent's hand and stuff like that. Like, I love control, so I was very excited to see a leader like Sakazuki finally come into the game. And I was so confident I was gonna play him, but when I finally like got my hands on him, I played him for like a month. I realized it wasn't for me.
And that's fair. That's fair.
But I just feel like a lot of people just aren't. I feel like they don't really know. They don't really know what it is about Sakazuki. I feel like we're at this point where I think it's kind of just an echo chamber. They know other people don't like Sakazuki, so they're yelling the same sentiment, because all the problems that they have with Sakazuki also apply to Enel, but no one's complaining about Enel the way they are Sakazuki. Like, if anyone complains about Enel, they just complain about yellow as like
funny,
a whole.
It's funny at Nats where like I was playing in that tournament, so I wasn't really paying attention, but my friends told me that like when Nats was going on, like in the finals, like Sakazuki would do like something and people would be like, yeah, you know, whatever, like a small little applause, and then Enel would literally like draw a fucking card for turn, and they'd be like, oh.
Bro, no, that really happened.
Bro, straight up, like, I didn't know about that, but people were like sucking this dude's dick because he like is playing, he's like triggering a card. Like, this guy seems super cool. The guy,
Giannis is cool.
Jonas, he seems super cool. Like, I don't know, I got like a good vibe from him in the video that I saw of him. So like, I'm not saying that like, you know, don't support this guy, but like people were literally like screaming in Jubilee because he like triggered a card. And if Sakazuki did anything, they were like crickets. I was blown away. Like, when I heard that, I was actually blown away.
I know this is true because like because you're not even the first person to tell me that. Literally, because I wasn't paying attention. I think I was playing. We were playing the side event, the same side event actually. We were both playing that side event, so like neither of us got to hear. But I've heard it from you, and there's another YouTube creator. His name's UniXTCG, and he told me that was happening too. Like, I think that alone proved that like people. I feel like the community just like they view Sakazuki as like the heel or like the boogeyman, and like they all have to band together against him, and they just fucking hate the leader. And because the widely accepted sentiment is that we can't like Sakazuki, that's what a lot of them do, and they don't even realize like why they don't like the leader. Because at the end of the day, there's nothing that you can say you don't like about Sakazuki that you don't like Enel. If you don't like that he's controlling your board, that's like one thing. But it also speaks to like what deck are you playing, where like that's something that prevents you from being able to like do anything. And if you're also losing to your board being controlled, how are you winning into Enel? Like I don't think that's possible, because while Enel isn't like doing like hard removal through card effects or anything, he's just putting Yamatos on the board. He's sticking bodies, Omen, Holies, and all that. And when you try to push for game, you turn your body sideways and then you fail. Then he cleans up your board, and then he puts you in the same position every single turn. Like,
that's exactly what they do. They make it like mathematically impossible to win. I'm actually I have to make a video after this, but it's making it like mathematically impossible to win, because like they're just taking every fucking card out of your hand, and there's no way to end the game before they do that, because they just heal infinitely. It's so bro, it's such a punishing deck. Like it's unreal. But,
it literally is, because like when you consider too, like the other deck that Sakazuki is or Enel's playing into, it is Sakazuki. Sakazuki is controlling board and everything, and Enel is like thriving through that. So like it really just it goes to show, because one, also Yellow, for some reason, like Enel doesn't really have an identity. All his cards do completely different fucking things for no reason at all. Holy just goes wide. Fucking Yamato just heals. And the crazy part about Yamato too is in Enel, like she fucking heals 3 life basically. Like there is a card in Enel to do fucking everything. Sakazuki has his niche, and his niche is literally he's going to control your board, and he's going to try to out-resource you, and then he'll kill you once he's finally able to do so. And now, like, that leader, and, like, so is Sakazuki to an extent, like, he's also very malleable, and he'll adapt to the matchup, and that's also one of the really good, like, the strengths of Sakazuki. And people, like, I think that they just view that as, like, problematic in itself, but that's just what being a good deck is. You have to be able to adapt. But literally, and now he has a different card for fucking everything. The man he can go wide, he has rush, he can stall, like he does literally everything and anything, and that's why he can gatekeep. So like just his leader ability alone, is already problematic. But then you get to the card pool, and then the card pool is also problematic. Like there is nothing that no other leader is doing what Enel is doing, and it's not even fucking close. And I think literally the big part of the reason too, like why Sakazuki has, because a lot of the meta's balanced out as it's gone on. Like Sakazuki, a lot of his wins were like it's front loaded. He got a lot of them in the beginning, and as the meta has progressed on, and now on Purple Luffy have finally started to take their wins and all that, and that's because they're adapting. Whereas that just wasn't the case, and there's never been a format like that previously. If there was ever a leader that dominated before, something like Whitebeard, where he was the deck and nothing else could compete, I don't think we've had a format like this one since OPO1, where you could realistically, in OPO1, you could expect Kid to win, you could expect Luffy to win, you could expect Law to win, and then every set after that, it was Whitebeard. And now we're finally in a set where you could expect Sakazuki to win, you could expect Enel to win, you could expect Purple Luffy to win, and Katakuri literally just won. We're in a healthy format. People might not like the leaders that are in it, but the fact that we're in a format where 4 different leaders can perform on an equal playing field, we are in a very, very healthy format. So I don't know. I don't know. I know you have like your own video to get to, so I mean I won't keep you here much longer, but like any closing thoughts for you, Joey?
Yeah, no, I think we did ramble a little bit, but like we said the main sentiments is,
we did.
let me just recap it for everybody that has been on this journey so far, this like hour-long journey. But so Whitebeard dominated a format and gate kept pretty much every single deck that wasn't like the top 4 decks or top 3 decks out of the game completely.
Yeah.
Sakazuki has never gate kept any deck from topping, except for like Law basically. Sakazuki doesn't have any tournament wins in the United States of America. It has less than 50% tournament wins across not Asia, right? Out of 8 events.
He has 3 wins and then 3 events he didn't even get in the top 4.
Yep. and then it also has a very bad conversion rate. Enel has a much lower representation, but a like almost like a triple conversion rate, maybe even quadruple conversion rate. And there's so many decks that Enel has gate kept, and it's much harder to play against Enel than it is to play against Sakazuki because you can't account for Enel's triggers. And to meet the conditions to actually beat them, you have to establish multiple bodies on the board while also being able to keep up with their card advantage and their tempo. And like almost no deck in the game can actually do that right now. So anyone that thinks Sakazuki's a problem is wrong. Enel's a problem, and if you still disagree, you're wrong. So that's
you're literally you are wrong. I would apologize for like the video being longer, but like you're a small hat viewer, this is what we do on this channel, so it is what it is. But I guess with that being said, then until next time, we'll see you guys. No goodbye for you, Joey.
My bad. Yeah, see ya.